Are the bright lights and bustling streets of New York City leaving you feeling overwhelmed about your first visit? Fear not. After 15 years of travelling to the concrete jungle, I'm here to give you 10 essential tips. Get ready to conquer New York City with confidence and create memories that'll get you coming back for more. Stay tuned for tip 10. It's a real surprising one as well. Hi there, I'm Michael, and together with my wife Marty, we are Linky Lifestyle. Having explored the bustling streets of New York City since 2010, we've developed an array of tips and some really cool insights that will certainly make your maiden voyage memorable. Our first two tips are to do with getting from the airport into Manhattan or one of the boroughs that you're going to. Our two go-to travel tips there are fixed price taxis or the Long Island Railroad. A fixed price taxi will get you directly from JFK into Manhattan for $70 to $80 irrespective of how long it takes. We arrived in 2017 and there was a polar vortex going on, so lots of snow, lots of rain, lots of ice on the road. It took us over 3 hours to get from JFK into Manhattan, yet the fare was exactly the same. So it gives you confidence around that fare, and you know that you're not going to be paying any more, which you can do with some of the share ride services. The second tip there is obviously the Long Island Railroad. It's quick, it's 20 to 30 minutes once you get to Jamaica Station, and again it's only $10. So depending on your baggage needs, you might choose to get a taxi if you've got baggage. If you're not carrying any baggage or you've just got a backpack, you might get the train. Tip 3 is all about Times Square. Nothing in Times Square is free, and a lot of tourists will get to Times Square, they'll walk around, they'll take photos, there'll be these cartoon characters there, there'll be people handing out CDs, there'll be people handing out other gifts. Every one of those interactions will cost you money, so you need to be very careful. By all means, go to Times Square. It's the crossroads of the universe. It's a fantastic, exuberant place to be, and I've been there a number of times, but I've never spent any money there. We haven't been to any of the restaurants there, we haven't been to any of the shops there, and we certainly haven't paid any of the hawkers any money for taking photos and stuff like that. So go to Times Square, enjoy it, but don't get taken for a ride by some of the people there selling stuff. New York is a very busy place, full of tourists and full of locals. And as a tourist, you want to respect the locals, and you also want to respect other tourists when walking around and getting around. If you see something you'd like to take a photo of, stop and think what's going on around you and get out of that flow of traffic. You can't just wander down Fifth Avenue and stop and take a great photo of the Rockefeller Center. People are going to bump into you, or you're going to annoy others as you're doing that. So think about what you're doing and move out of the flow of traffic before you take a photo. Even to tie your shoelaces, just think about that. It is much busier than most of the streets that you're used to, that you're visiting from. And I know where I'm from in Canberra, we don't see any crowds like that. So it's something that we're very conscious of when we're walking around, whether it's Midtown, whether it's downtown, anywhere really, it's always busy. It's always busy on the streets, it's always busy at the attractions. So that common courtesy and thinking about what's going on around you before you take that photo is a really important thing to do. It'll make your life easier as well. You won't get bumped, you won't drop your phone, you won't drop your camera, and you'll have a really good time. You won't annoy people as well. Hotels in New York are up with the most expensive hotels in the world. Think of Paris, think of London, think of Sydney. Very expensive to stay in that central part. And the central part of Manhattan, of course, is Midtown. So if you're on a budget or you want to save some money, think about staying outside Manhattan or outside Midtown. You could go downtown, you could go uptown, you could go across to Brooklyn or one of the other boroughs and get cheaper accommodation because Midtown is very expensive. Marty and I, we actually do stay in Manhattan because there are some cheaper options. So if you're in New York for a long period of time, 7 days or 14 days, think about a long stay apartment rather than a hotel. These long stay places will charge by the 7 days and your daily rate's much cheaper than a hotel. So that's an option. We'll put a link below to the hotel that we stay at in Manhattan. It's fantastic. It's 5-star, but it's a lot cheaper than the 5-star hotels because it's long stay. Just like the accommodations, food is also very expensive in New York. And a lot of people go to New York thinking they have to sit down and have a meal every night at a nice restaurant or a sit-down lunch every day. And sure, do that a couple of times while you're there. There's some fantastic eating choices, some fantastic fine dining restaurants, and some fantastic mid-range restaurants. But you don't need to do that every day. There are plenty of street carts. We used a food tour once and thought, well, let's go on a food tour for dinner. And the cost of the tour was cheaper than going out to dinner somewhere. And we got to sample 7 or 8 international cuisines. That was in Queens. I'll put a link down below as well. So just think about your food. You don't need to have that 3-course meal every night. Some other key places to go to are bodegas, delis and diners. We've had some of the most enjoyable meals in a local diner, especially along 9th Avenue and 3rd Avenue. When you get away from Midtown, there's some fantastic diners and delis. Think a little bit differently about your food, and don't think that you've got to book somewhere and sit down for that 3-course meal every night. Tipping in America is a different culture to the rest of the world, especially for Australians. We don't have a tipping culture here at all. So going to America can be overwhelming the first time when you're there. What should you tip? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it $10? Is it $15? The rule that Marty and I use is in restaurants, we essentially double the tax. So if your bill is $100 and tax is $8.88, you just double that. And that's around somewhere between 18 and 20% of the bill, which is the sort of cultural norm in New York for meals and for food, places like that. But you do need to tip. Some places will add the gratuity to your bill, so don't tip twice. If you get a bill that has 20% gratuity included, that's your tip. So don't then add another 18 or 20%. That's a trap for some international visitors. They think they need to add a tip on top of that gratuity that's already been added to the bill. Think about that when you're paying bills, and just make sure that you do the right thing. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. So whether you're opposed to tipping or it's something that you don't like doing, it is certainly a cultural norm. Most people, when they go to New York, also want to see the Statue of Liberty. There's a number of ways you can do it. Some cost money, some you just see it from a distance. The best way that Marty and I have found is the free Staten Island ferry. Both on the way to Staten Island and on the way back, you get fantastic views, and it's all free. So you don't need to pay for a cruise. You don't need to take long lenses. Best way to see it, easiest way to do it, but just a fantastic way, and we've done that a number of times. Another overwhelming facet of New York that everyone worries about is the subway. Is it safe? How am I going to get around? Is it confusing? And I can tell you, the first time Marty and I went to New York in 2010, and first time we went to Times Square and 42nd Street Station, we were overwhelmed. We just didn't know where to go, what to do, how to get on, whether we were going uptown, whether we were going downtown, which line to catch. Completely overwhelmed at that time. But over the last 15 years, we've developed a strategy, we've built some skills, and we understand the subway system now. It's not very difficult. One of the key things about the subway now is you can use your phone or your watch to get on the system. It's $2.75 per trip, and you just swipe your phone, swipe your watch, and you're into the train station. Very easy. You don't need to worry about a Metro card. You don't have to go up to the machines and pick where you're going to or what you're trying to do. Just turn on the pay account on your device and swipe that device to get onto the subway. Very simple. There are fantastic subway maps out there, but is it safe? Yes. Observe all the protocols that people observe when you're using the subway, so let people get off before you get on. It can get very crowded at times. If you feel a little bit unsafe, on the platforms you'll see the zebra board, and that's a board hanging up around the centre of each platform with black and white stripes. That's where the conductor is sitting on the train. So if you are travelling late at night or you're on your own and you're not feeling as safe as possible, find that part of the platform, as I said, generally in the centre, and you'll be travelling near the conductor. You can also ask the conductor questions. Is this going to such and such station? Is it going uptown or downtown? And they're always willing to help. Me being vision impaired, I've used that assistance a number of times to make sure that I'm going in the right direction and I'm on the right platform. But it can be a confusing system. Some of the tunnels are cavernous and difficult to navigate, so be aware of that when you're using the subway for the first time. But getting on to the system is as easy as carrying your phone with you. My final tip is one that not a lot of people talk about, and it's make sure that you have comfortable shoes. You're going to do a lot of walking in New York. It is the best way to see the city. Don't jump on Fifth Avenue and hail a cab to go 10 blocks. Walk the 10 blocks. Catch the subway from here to there and then explore that area where the subway has let you off and really enjoy it. We do about 25,000 steps a day. When I was there on my own in March 2023, I was doing 50,000 steps a day just to walk around the island, just to enjoy the sights and sounds of Manhattan. It's a fantastic city to walk around. You get so much more out of your experience if you're walking around, whether it's up the avenues or across the streets. It doesn't matter, but walk, enjoy, take in the city. You'll find a few little gems. We've actually got a video with 6 different things to do in New York. Check that out. and make sure you've got your walking shoes for those 6 things, because they're really interesting and really fun to do, and they're generally off the beaten track or a little bit away from the typical attractions that people go to New York to see. Get out and walk and enjoy the city. Well, that's my 10 tips. Drop me a comment if you've got some tips, or if you're a bit nervous about traveling to New York. Happy to help and advise. I've got a blog as well with over 300 blog entries for our travels to New York. You can read any one of those blog entries. Subscribe to our blog as well. There's a link below to that, and you'll get updates on blogs. And we'll be in New York shortly, and we'll be blogging that whole trip again. So a really good opportunity for our subscribers to see what's happening, get the most up-to-date information. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe this video, and yeah, drop me a comment.